What up, though? This your boy Cuzin P, and you're tuned in to the
Spot.
spot where the ears meet the street.
Here with the players, the best. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you. Damn, I don't even know. I gotta get the shit where your ear eat. What is it? Where your ears meet the street. Where your ear meet the street. The spot where your ear meet the street.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Alaska with The Spot where the ears meet the streets. I'm here with a very special guest. Go ahead and introduce yourself, mommy.
What's up, y'all? My name is Deziana Torres. I am originally from East Oakland, but I'm here in Sacramento today to really, pour in and talk about some exciting stuff coming out. So I'm juiced.
Yes, welcome. How was the drive?
The drive is cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I moved to Sacramento now, so I'm in the area, but originally from the Bay.
Okay, area.
Woo, yada
Yes.
yada. What you know about that?
All right, let's get to it, mommy.
Let's do it.
What made you decide you wanted to write a book, and why was it the right time in your life to do it?
So I have written a book before. My first book is called The Becoming of Her. And in The Becoming of Her, this poetry book, it is about hella L's I've taken in my life. I'm talking about childhood trauma, educational trauma, love trauma, and the journey of discovering ourselves. I know before we were kind of talking about how long it takes for us to discover that self-love.
Right.
And so that's what that first book is about, just about hella L's. The cool thing about that book, though, is that I didn't intend for it to be as big as it had blew up.
Okay.
My goal, somebody asked me, Des, how many books you want to sell? And I said 40. Because I don't know 40 people who read. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm the first generation in my family to really graduate high school, go to college, get a master's degree, and then now being an author is something that's still new to my family. So 40 was a big number for me.
That's huge.
And to be honest, the first month sold 300 copies. The second month sold 600 copies, and then it's just been going all over the place. So now my book is in 5 different school districts. It's in juvenile halls. Yes.
We like being in schools. We love the schools. Yes.
Yeah, and it's what I have found about that experience with that first book is that me inviting conversations about L's and the L's we take in our lives invited other people to talk about it too.
Yeah.
And I was so scared to release it.
Yeah.
And so just seeing the success of my first book is kind of what inspired me to write the second book. But I felt like what I was missing with the first and the second is I didn't have a lot of the strategy or a framework or a blueprint to really take people just out of the L's. I just threw hella L's in a book and left it at that.
You're like, this is
right?
my
Like,
life.
it's my life. This is all I know. And so in this new season of my life, I've been applying something a little different that I know we'll probably get into of just kind of walking people through the L to get to a place of a legacy.
Yes, I love that. How old is your first book?
My first book was released in 2021. So it was around COVID time.
Okay, so 5 years.
Yeah.
And then how long did it take you to create that book?
A month.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh girl.
I would never recommend writing a book in a month. It was like 300 pages.
Dang.
And when I talk about traumatizing myself, writing poetry is such a way that I heal myself.
Right.
I kind of give myself permission to just process the emotions that come up. And so for that book particularly, it was really 1 month. And how I did it is I just posted a post on Instagram and I was like, all right, y'all, I got a book coming out next month. Didn't even have a title. Didn't have no pages.
Oh my God, I love you. That's literally what we were just talking about.
Yeah, that pressure.
Yeah.
I needed that pressure.
And just ripping that Band-Aid off and just fucking going for it. Like if you got to start somewhere. I did not expect you to say a month.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be pre-COVID. Maybe COVID got me down. So I really, for the year of COVID, did it. A month is exceptional.
Yeah.
That is so amazing.
Yeah, it was really dope, to see it go from, there were nights where I wouldn't even sleep. There were nights I didn't even eat. Times I even forgot to brush my teeth because I was just on the computer just writing it out. And then I remember my sister coming out and being like, sis, you good? I'm like, nah.
You're like, no, I'm tweaking out. I got too much.
I got too much on my plate and the deadline's coming up. And so that's why this book, I wanted to take my time with it. Just because even after I released the book and it was so successful, it was so hard for me to talk about it because I was still so traumatized. And this book, I took my time. It's been 2 years in the making and been having an editor on kind of reading through it. His name is Brian Zamora as well. Dope person. I wanted somebody who was book smart and street smart.
Yeah, okay.
I need somebody street smart to read, to understand the things that I'm bringing forth. And so,
how did you find him?
I actually knew him from the Bay Area when I released my first, from actually LA. When I released my first book, he was somebody to come and take pictures, and he's also a photographer that's pretty dope in his area of San Fernando. And yeah, so when I met him, I knew that he was getting his doctor's degree, and he was working on, you know, some of his own personal projects. And I was like, homie, what's good?
Yeah.
Like, can we link up?
Yeah.
Can I borrow you for a couple of
I need
times?
that brain.
Like, I need that brain. I need that brain. And
I
so
love
it was
that.
dope.
Oh, that's great. And it's connections, you know.
It is.
Finding these people, and it doesn't even have to be in the same avenue. Just connecting with like-minded people that have the same grit, tenacity, drive that you have.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, that's something that I've always heard is like, if you want to be an author, one of the people in your close friends or in your friend group got to be an author. Like, you got to just find folks who got that who got that creativity, that skill set, that drive. Because it ain't nothing but, can we go to lunch and have a conversation?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I got a goal, I got some dreams, and I know God is going to intentionally place people in my life who can help me get there. So what's up?
I love that. So let's
Yeah,
go.
let's do
That's perfect. What is your book really about at its core? What message or theme would you say drives the whole project?
I would say the book is about the 3L collective theory, and that's when I was bringing a blueprint. When I wrote my first book, it was just all L. So this second book, I was like, I need a blueprint that's going to help walk a lot of the folks who read my book through those losses to get them to a place of legacy. Yeah. So the 3L collective theory is your losses plus your lessons is what birth your legacy.
Okay.
So you need your losses.
Yes.
You need them. The bigger, I always tell people, the bigger the loss, the bigger the legacy.
Yeah.
But it's the ability for us to learn what that loss was. If you don't learn from that loss, that cycle is going to repeat. That's a generational trauma. That's how that gets passed on too. And so this book specifically is really just all about how do we get to the legacy aspect of it. When we look at Tupac, when we look at legends in the world, people just assume they ain't never really been through stuff.
Right.
But when you tap in and listen to like their interviews, when you read their books, you realize, damn, they had a hella L's too.
Yeah. And a lot to say.
And it never stopped them.
Right. Yeah.
So how do we again design a blueprint that will allow people to get there? And so losses plus lessons equals legacy is all what the book is about, but it's about inviting short stories. It's still about trauma from growing up in East Oakland, trauma from growing up navigating poverty, and teen parents who were unhealed and had their own traumas, and a lot of projection of that hindered the way that I could love myself.
Right.
And so, yeah, I would say the book is really just full of personal stories that I have processed in the midst of writing it that I ain't even told my family about, you know? So, like, when they read the book, this is the first time they're going to be hearing some of those stories for themselves as well.
Does that give you a sense of, like, how does that make you feel?
I feel, that's a great question. It's a bittersweet feeling that a lot of people don't ask me questions about my own personal life to get to know me, and that I gotta put it in a book for folks to understand me in a different lens. But in a sense, I think it's also beautiful to invite people through writing and creative writing for them not to just hear what I have to say, but I'm very big at making you feel it. Like I want you to feel what I felt in the midst of me navigating what this story was about. And inviting them through that, I feel like births a lot of grace for folks to look at me and be like, oh, I understand how she moved now. I understand why she don't stop hustling, why she keep going, why she aiming for the stars. Because look where she came from. She came out the mud. Right. And the mud ain't somewhere where I always want to be planted. Exactly. You know, when seeds are planted, I feel like my ancestors planted hella seeds. If somebody ain't blossoming up from the mud, then what are we doing?
Yeah, you're like, it's going to be me.
It's going to be me.
Yeah,
if
I don't
anything,
know about y'all, it's going to be me.
I
love that. I love that. That is great. I can't wait to read it. Is it already out?
No, it's coming out in April.
April? Perfect. How did you come up with the title of your book, and what does it mean to you personally?
Yeah, so the book title is When the Chains Fall.
Ooh.
When we talk about generational trauma, I want us to imagine that those chains are really like linked to our arms. Those are things that we carry with us everywhere we go. By default, sometimes you're born with the chains on your wrist before you even have a say or choice. And so When the Chains Fall was very symbolic for me, because it's not when you break a link. You could break a link, but you still got 50 more links on your hands and still holding you down. Yeah, and so for me, it was when the chains fall, when they release from your wrist, the power of the breath of what comes from that, the peace of what comes from that, and then also the stability of the way that we feel about ourselves is born from that emotion. And that it's almost like an internal freedom, so that's my goal, is just to invite utilizing the 3L collective theory to help people use that as a blueprint so that they can also release the chains from themselves too.
I love that. And I think with that is that, like, you're sharing your story, right? And because you want people to have this emotional connection with you, they could relate to that emotion, even if they can't relate to that story, which is
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
And that's what I think your reader kind of gets out of your book is that, you know, I think sometimes people are like, you know, my story is harder than others, or my story isn't as hard as
True.
others,
True.
you know, but I've always been like, pain is pain.
Yeah.
You know, your story could be different than my story,
Yeah.
but the pain that we feel is equal.
That part.
And, you know, you don't have to go through the hardest things, but feeling pain can make you feel a certain way, and this is how you navigate through that. And I think that's what
That
I hear
part.
when you talk about that, and that's what I love about you wanting to invoke this feeling. That's really just connecting with people and bringing them in so they can follow these rules, you know?
True. It's like that would mean the world to me. If
Yeah.
anybody could read my book and read a story and be inspired to maybe have one conversation or process one experience for yourself, in a sense, you drop in chains already from maybe experiences that no one ever asked you about. Because
Right.
let's be honest, who really be asking us questions about the stuff we go through? It's
Literally.
almost
Our
how you doing,
therapist.
right? If you have one,
Literally. And
True.
that's a whole nother subject.
No, that is true for
Yeah.
real. That's really true. And so, in a sense, my book is a form of therapy for people, and it's, at least how I designed to write it is to roll out in a way that invites them to just share their story.
Yeah.
Some of my pages have reflection pages too, so it'll say
Oh,
like,
good.
"How you felt about that? Let's process what came up for you."
Yeah, this is big. Like,
Yeah.
let's unfold. So you're still in it with them as they're reading it. I love that. Yeah, I
There's
love that.
breathing exercises in there. There's like wellness activities in there because I know that some of the stories play as triggers. I talk about community violence, gang violence, gun violence, drugs, all the stuff that I saw growing
Right.
up, right? That we had access to. And some of that could be triggering for people who have never processed that before. So in a sense, it's like, I'm going to walk you through your L's because I want you to name it. I want you to understand the impact of what that had in your life, but I also want you to learn and say, what is the lesson this brings for me? And lastly, how could I use this lesson and this loss to create such a positive impact within myself, my family, my friends, or my community, right? So it's really, when I think of the word legacy, I think of the positive impact. When you gone, how do people remember you?
Yeah.
That's your impact, right? That's your legacy. And so
love
being hella intentional about how I describe it and how I lead people to that is my goal of getting people to see themselves as legends, seeing themselves as legacy builders so that they can eliminate the victimization
Yes.
that oftentimes keeps them in that loss.
Yeah, you nail on the head, mama.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you are such a Capricorn. You're like, come, let me
Right?
heal you. Let's get grounded
Let's do
together.
this,
Like,
such an earth
let
sign.
let our roots flow together. I
Yes.
feel you, mama. Your
I
roots is
appreciate
getting me.
that.
It's beautiful.
I appreciate that. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
it's gorgeous. What was your writing process like? Did you plan everything out, or did your story unfold as you wrote it?
It unfolded as I wrote it. I'm the kind of person, I'm inspired by everything. Music, reading, books. I could watch a TV show and see a scene and I'm pulling out my notes on my phone and being like, oh, this reminds me of this story. And I'm just at least jotting down what the memory brings up so that, you know, once I put my son to sleep and handle my business throughout the day, I pretty much sit down and I pull up my phone and say, what stories came up this week? And then I saturate myself and start writing out those stories. So again, it kind of just goes with the flow. Every time something come up and I'm triggered by something, I write it
I
down.
love
I
that.
write. So I encourage everybody who's listening who want to be an author, write down those memories that are coming up.
Yeah.
Those are free stories so that you don't just sit at a blank computer and be like, all right, now what are all the stories I want to include?
Yeah,
in
what was
this?
I thinking about 4
Yeah.
hours ago while my son was running around?
Running around. Yeah, so writing it down is always helpful.
I love that. And then you also take that time to just pour yourself into that.
Oh yeah,
Right.
I saturate myself. I even tell my man like, don't bother me. I put on headphones, put some music
I love
on,
that.
and I just saturate myself around even artists that I feel like I talk about Tupac a lot. Tupac, J. Cole, just artists, Kendrick Lamar, that really talk about the ability to move from losses to legacy by default. A lot of the lyrics already talk about it. So I get inspired by that when I have it in my ears and I'm like, yeah, and this is my story and I'm finna write this out. It starts coming out like
This is my
natural.
love.
Yeah.
This is my lesson. This is my legacy.
legacy.
Yada. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I love this. What was the hardest part of writing the book, emotionally or mentally?
I would say, that's a deep question. I would say the hardest part about writing this book is my first book. I'm not gonna lie, I called a lot of people out in my family.
Okay, good. That's your story,
It's
mommy.
my truth,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of people ain't ready for their truth,
Yeah.
and so that triggered, a really harsh reaction. My family actually kind of considered me like the black sheep.
Mm-hmm.
They disowned me. They didn't want nothing to do with me. My auntie had, she was on her deathbed, and they wouldn't invite me to the hospital because of my book. Yeah. So there was a lot of trauma that came from writing and owning your truth, which made me in that moment say I would never write another book again.
Oh wow!
Like I would never, because I love my family so much, and it was like my book was never a diss.
Yeah,
my book was me healing
Right,
myself,
yeah.
and you miss the whole point of that if you don't read it. Right?
Unhealed people kind of. Mama, I get you.
So being like, being the person in my family where I am the first to take on this healing journey, people do look at that as like, oh, you think you bougie now? You think you this? And it's like, no. Yeah. You were deserving of this too. Mm-hmm. And just because I talk about these stories and bring up this truth don't mean I don't love you.
Yeah.
Right? I just hold you accountable to a certain level of the shit you put me through.
As I should.
Right, as I should.
And I have a son, so I'm teaching him accountability.
I need him to learn that too for himself.
And, I mean, we hurt so much because, there's sometimes that we don't speak up, so it's this ugly cycle that's not fun, and we should all just support people.
I agree.
Yeah, I have a cousin that's kind of crashing out right now, and I don't maybe agree with the way she's crashing out, but I see it's her healing, and she has to get all this shit out.
I think maybe I was crashing out. Like, who knows?
And that's fine. And it's like, but it's like, pull your head out of your ass, first of all, especially if you're adults. You were older. I was the kid. True. I didn't ask for all this bullshit.
It fell in my lap.
And then because of our generation, we were told to be quiet about it, which is really
Keep it under the rug.
Yeah, which really fucked us up.
True.
And so now we're like bursting at the seams to get it out, and then we look like the black sheep or like these crazy people for getting it out. But it's like, nah, bro, I'm the most loyal person you know. I'm the toughest person and I've been keeping all this secrets.
And I can't no more. I can't. I
gotta
release them chains.
Yeah, like I need to grow. Yeah. I need to heal. And if you I know you love me enough. You don't know that I need this.
That part.
But like, I'm doing this for us.
Yeah, and I felt like when I released the book, I thought that was what the response was gonna be.
Yeah.
I thought my family would read those stories and be like, damn, Desi, like, that's hella dope that you were able to articulate yourself in that way and bring forth your experiences in this and that, and allow for us to see how we can also do that for ourselves.
And love us through all this shit. We had no idea.
Oh, yeah, no.
Desi, you're the best because we had no idea. You were our shining star.
I
see it.
That.
Yeah, I see it. If they haven't come around fully, they will.
Yeah, and to be honest, a lot of them have now.
Yeah.
My relationship with those same family members have now been coming into fruition.
Right.
And how that happened is my nephew, Alex, actually was like, Mom, can I buy the book? Can you buy it for me? And her mom was like, you mean the book of shame?
The book? You want the book?
You want the book of shame that our family is like
from your
not
prima?
Yes.
No.
and I'm so thankful that my cousin did buy that book for him, and he read it, and she ended up reading it. She was like, whoa, she's not just calling out this side of the family, she's calling out all of it.
Yeah.
So when my family actually read all the book, then they started to really fully see that where my heart was, where I was coming from. But I think oftentimes people, they read one story about themselves, and then now they think the whole book is about them.
Right.
It's like, did you read the last pages?
Yeah,
did you get to
it gets really good after the first 2 pages, guys. I promise.
Stick with it.
I love that.
And so
oh my God.
It took someone to be curious in my family to say, what did she write about? I want to know.
Right,
like, I want to hear this.
How old is Alex?
I would say he's 15, maybe going on 16 now.
Alex, that's amazing.
Yeah,
and Alex,
I appreciate you for real.
That's the next gen. That's
the next
that's your legacy. That a
positive impact.
Yeah, you did that for him. There's something that he saw in you.
In me.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And so like you're already doing what you want to do with your family. Not only are you creating an income and such and a legacy that way, but you're also doing that work within your family, not forcefully. So that's just beautiful, and I just want to give you your props for that. Yeah, for real. So good.
I appreciate that.
It's
and,
amazing.
One of the dopest things about creative writing or even like podcasting is sometimes your family ain't gonna be your biggest fans, But strangers be like your biggest supporters. When I tell you, I had people vouching for me in Los Angeles and different Massachusetts, different states. They were like, "Can you come talk to my students? Can you?" And I'm like, "Damn, my family hate me, but y'all love me
For real.
This is
like
insane.
this is me.
Yeah,
This is
like,
oh yeah. I love that for you. I know that
Yeah.
feeling, and I love that for you. It's like I'm doing something, you know.
Something.
And it's hard sometimes to see that.
It is.
So when you get that, recognition from out and about from people that
Yeah.
you kind of don't even know. It's
True.
like,
I had kids going on stages on Martin Luther King Day. I mean, assemblies reading my poems on stage, and I'm
Bro.
like, the humility, the comfort, the compassion, the love that y'all share from what came from a very vulnerable place is what gives me that drive to be like, I need to write another book.
You're like,
I
let me
need to
think of
do it
some more
again.
L's.
Yeah.
I got a couple more.
I got a lot more in these.
Shit. I
But
love
that was just
that.
surface level.
She was like, these were just the ones I
Yeah,
wanted
wanted
to
to.
tell. Like, I got some more
Look.
juicier ones. Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
so
so-
inspirational.
I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's great. What was the biggest challenge you faced after the book was finished? Was it editing, publishing, marketing, or believing in yourself enough to release it?
I would say marketing, not so much. I feel like my first book, the marketing was word of mouth.
Yeah.
Because people are like, how did you blow up so big? And I
Yeah.
was like, I didn't even promote myself yet. I didn't even get to that. I don't even know how to do it yet. But it was word of mouth. So I
Someone
think-
liked me and
they spread the word around for me. So
Yeah.
that was really dope. So I don't think it's the marketing. I think for me was owning my truth and not worrying about how other people perceive it or take it, just because my first experience was really altered by that. This second book, I'm almost like, I don't give a fuck how
Yeah.
y'all feel. This
Yeah.
is my truth, and this is my truth, and what y'all do with that is what y'all do.
I love
But
that.
at least for me, these are chains being released, and it's allowing for me to live outside of victimization, and I invite you to do it too.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like, you ain't gotta hate on the outside. Like, come join
Yeah.
utilizing the 3R collective theory, losses, lessons, legacy, and learn from some of the mistakes you probably made in your life, and realize that you ain't got to be chained to that. You can always transform yourself. You can always transform from the trauma that you experience. But if you don't do the work, you don't talk about it.
Right.
Don't complain about the chains.
Right. And I think another thing is our generation was taught, don't ask, don't tell, be quiet.
Yeah.
It's like talking about it is so therapeutic,
It
and
is.
it creates this community.
100%.
Like there's so many times where I'm like, I'm the only one in the whole world that's ever broken a nail. I'm the only one.
Right?
And then coming to find out that there's other people that have gone through the same thing,
Yeah.
and it's just about sharing that story, so
Yeah.
that's very brave of you. And
True.
I hear you relinquishing multiple chains, like you already took off those chains, and then you may have had like a slight pair right before you released this book, and then that was another one. So I'm also seeing that just because you take off one set of chains doesn't mean that you don't have more work to
True.
do, and that's what
True.
I'm hearing from you.
True.
And even you're so confident and bold,
Yeah.
to hear these little stories about how you were a little hesitant or fearful or what have you shows that you are human, and I love that. And it just attests to your greatness and that you are a teacher.
Yeah.
That is what you are.
Yeah, and I do work with mostly youth, so Black and brown students from urban communities. Right now I'm at a continuation school with kids who are in and out of juvenile hall, and so being able to share my story and see how they their eyes are illuminated, like, wow, we talking about this at school?
Right.
I'm like, yes, because we should be dissecting our traumas, not the pigs, forget the pigs, like, put
Yeah.
our traumas on the table.
Right.
Help us dissect that, help us overcome that, because to be honest, Black and brown communities by default systematically take hella L's by
Right.
design.
By
And if we
design.
don't know how to pull ourselves out of those losses, then when life be lifing, that's going to add an extra layer. When bills be billing, that's going to add an
Right.
extra layer. When you're dealing with grief and community violence, especially when you're still surrounded in neighborhoods like that, it just feels like you're drowning in loss.
Right.
And what I want for more than anything for our folks is to realize that the system don't have the power to hold you down. You got the power to pull yourself up if you allow yourself to transform from those experiences. But if you stay silent about it and you keep kicking it under the rug like the generations before us have, what healing does that, what good does that do? I'd be damned if I have my son trip on the same rug I tripped my whole life on.
Nah, it
ain't no
happening.
way. So I'm lifting that thing
it's
up.
gone. We ain't even have it. Yeah.
Ain't no carpets in here,
no.
because we want everything to really be at the forefront. And so when you talk about teacher, I think one of the coolest things is I teach in some shape or form. So I feel like my stories inspire them, but when I hear them talk, they inspire me. Because one of my stories is about fireworks or gunshots.
Right.
And when I read that story to the kids, it was me and my siblings. We were growing up at Granny house watching Shrek. And you hear pop, 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 and we look at each other and be like, "So what's up? Is it fireworks or gunshots?"
Yeah, we look in or we
yeah,
ducking?
like what are we doing? And so we would make our guesses, and when we heard the sirens go, we would go, we were right. We were right. That was a gunshot. But we're kids. Yeah. How do we know that? How can our ears really decipher from sounds like that? And one of the kids goes, "But can you tell what type of gun it was?" I said, "Whoa, no, I can't." But that's some deeper shit right there.
And he's like, but I can.
But I can. So just hearing them own their truths is like what gives them permission for folks to realize y'all really are experts over your own life.
Yeah.
Don't let nobody tell you what you can and what you can't do, because it's all about how you are able to navigate yourself from those experiences and create something better for your family or for yourself. If you don't want to do it for nobody else, do it for you.
Yeah. You're saving lives, girl.
I appreciate
that.
Yeah,
you really are. It's amazing. I'm thinking about, I'm 37. A couple years ago, just thinking of all my L's and just how hard it was for me. This book would have been the key. I think it's great for young people.
Yeah.
I think it's great for people in their 30s, because that's where shit just changes. True. I just think it's so good. And I think it's going to be a book that's going to be used multiple times through one person's life. I think it needs to be taught at a younger age, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see this being a book. It kind of reminds me of like the 4 Agreements. That's like my Bible.
Right?
I always bring it out. That's the book I gift to people.
That's such a great book.
It's such a great book.
Wow.
Every time I've taken that book out, which is like, it's like 92 pages, and I'm a very slow reader, and I would just take it out in random places. Every time, 100 for 100 times, when I would take it out, people would be like, "Oh, I love that book." Da da da. I feel like that's gonna be your book.
You know what? You just speaking so much life into me. I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. I can see it 100%. Which part of your book means the most to you, and why?
Legacy chapters.
Okay.
My book is broken up into chapters of losses, lessons, and legacy, but even the story itself is broken up into losses, lessons, legacy. So you're going to get it regardless from every story, but I feel like I have to really saturate myself and pull myself out of victimization from a lot of my experience and say, nah, I am not just what happened to me. I am what I overcome. And sometimes, we hear about resiliency, and we know resiliency is powerful, but can I be honest with you? Like, forced resiliency is tiring. We are tired of having to be so.
Can you say that one more time?
Forced resiliency is tiring.
Yes, baby.
Like, I'm tired of having to be strong so much all the time. And so by default, I think a lot of people give up because in this world, especially the color of your skin that you're born with, the circumstances you're born into, by default, you're going to be taking hella L's.
Yeah.
And so you have to force yourself, because you still got to eat. Your kids still got to eat. The rent got to get paid. The car note got to get paid.
Yeah.
And so when you got so much on your belt, it pushes you into survival mode.
Right.
And how I realized myself, especially being a Capricorn, I'm all about hustle, bustle, business.
Yeah,
and
sure.
so
Let me get this money.
For real. So I felt like something that was really valuable for me was to see myself outside of the work, to say, you kicking your feet up before you do your dishes is legacy work. Because your mama used to tell you, what you doing resting in the house is, a mess. You got to get up, you got to do the work. And I'm like, Mama, but I'm tired.
Yeah.
I need to sleep. So now I listen to my body a lot more. If I'm tired, I'm tired.
Yeah.
Right? Them dishes can wait.
They'll be fine.
They'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah. You find a plate, get a napkin.
So just giving myself an invitation to see myself outside of the survival mode, and seeing myself be more tapped in nature, and going on hikes and on a paddle board in the middle of a lake. I mean, these are things my family don't do.
Yeah, I love
I can
that
only
for
imagine,
Literally,
that introduction.
Totally spoke to my heart about the dishes, and like I didn't think about it. I mean, and then we hear it's laziness.
Yeah, and it's
right,
not.
and I'm like, bro, I'm fucking tired. Yeah, and that's a legacy. Oh my God,
Yeah.
that just changed my whole thought process. Oh, I'm gonna tell all my friends,
Right.
ain't none of our dishes finna be done. Ain't none of our dishes finna be done. But our
Right.
feet are gonna be
Rested.
healed.
Yes.
Yeah, rested, soft.
Rest is so revolutionary.
Yeah.
I think oftentimes when we think about legacy work, people think, oh, it's all about ambition. You always got to work hard. You always got to do this. And I'm like, don't fall into the trap of the capitalist world, right? They want you to think your productivity is what builds your legacy. Nah, that's not how that works.
Nah. And if you just smooth in everything,
it'll work out.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
nothing will be missed.
True.
Girl, where have you been all my life?
I'm right here now.
Yes, ma'am. Hey, all I need is right here, right now,
Right
today.
here, right now.
Yes, ma'am.
I
In perfect
appreciate that.
timing. Who do you feel this book is for? And what kind of person do you hope connects with it the most?
If you grew up in any city similar to East Oakland, this book is for you.
Yeah.
If you've grown up to 2 teen parents, this book is for you. If you grew up maybe as the oldest child like I was to hella siblings in a single parent household, this book is for you. If you grew up navigating poverty, gun violence, you lost somebody to, streets, gangs, all that, you longed for your daddy's love, right? In the midst of you trying to discover love for yourself, this book is for you. I literally talk about it all. And so I invite anyone who's ever really taken an L, just not, systematically as it relates to, our political climate and things of that sense, but just taking an L by default by who you were born into, what school you went to, what you had to navigate to go chase your dreams. When I was the first in my family to go to college, people looked at me like, how the hell you do it?
Yeah.
Because everyone around us was cutting school, drinking, having sex. Like, people don't care about school like that because by default, why sacrifice? Because people were like, Desi, I don't got time to go 4 years somewhere else to go study when my family got to eat tomorrow.
Yeah, like we need
so
food.
we need food. So I understand that survival. So this story is to illuminate, all the struggles for folks to be able to say, if you've been through any of these circumstances, any of these experiences, here goes a story for you. So read up on it. Maybe, and a lot of times I even highly encourage teachers and people who ain't never even lived in the hood to read this book too, so that y'all can have a lot more empathy for the kids that y'all got in your seats.
Yeah.
A lot of us, by teachers who don't have the experience or never grew up in the hood, you by default already don't understand the child in your seat. And so I think it's really inclusive for us to pay attention to that. I have a story in this new book that's called Solve for X. X equals 2,500 minus 24 hours. And in this book, it talks about me running late to class and I'm trying to hurry up and get there. We had a horrible day the day before and I'm just trying to be, where I need to be. And so when I get to class, there's like 2 parts of the lesson, or 2 parts of the day. The teacher will give a lesson first half and then he'll put up practice math problems on the board and we'll be like, all right, y'all come solve for X.
Yeah.
And this particular day, I'm late, missed the whole lesson, sat in my chair trying to be quiet. It's already a walk of shame when you walk in there late. And my teacher was like, all right, Des, come on up and solve the problem. And I'm like, I know that I wasn't even here for the lesson. So what you calling on me for?
You know how this
And so, for real. And so I started giving an attitude in the story I'm talking about. Like, I'm not in the mood. And he kept, come on to the, and I'm like, I just told you I'm not in the mood. And so his approach was like, Des, come outside. Let me talk to you. And I'm stomping my feet. And, I was the kid that I always had an attitude, always kicked out of class, always had something to say. And so this particular teacher pulled me aside and he was like, Des, like, what's going on with you? You such a bright student. But when you act like this, I'm concerned. Like, do you need any help? Is there support I could give you? And to be honest, I've never had no one in my life come to me like that. And this is a white man, a white math teacher.
Yeah.
And I'm just like blown away by his curiosity. He led with that curiosity. And in the story I talk about, I wanted to tell him that the night before my family was held at gunpoint by a drug dealer. And, held my mama, with a gun and was like, you got to pay us $2,500 and you got 24 hours to figure it out. Mind you, my mama ain't got nothing to do with no street life. It wasn't even nothing that, it was just, someone stole a drug dealer's stash and just pointed at our house and said us. And so in that situation, you're 14 years old and you're the oldest in your family. You got a gun pointed at your mama and you like, what? Your mama's like, never, my mom's a teen parent, never graduated high school, didn't have a high paying job. So $2,500 in 24 hours is like a lot of money to come up with. So
and she had multiple kids.
Yeah. And so the story goes, I'm solving for X. Can you help me solve for X? I'm substituting X with sources like asking my homies if I could sell drugs for them, trying to sell my Jordans, TVs, trying to steal a car, like something. And so in the story, it just invites teachers to look at the perspective of, you want me to come solve a math problem. Cool. Okay. Yeah. But can you help me solve this?
Yeah, there's
because this is what I'm going through. Yeah. And until I could get through this, I don't give a fuck about what the math problem is in front of me. And that right there, I want teachers to understand. Some kids just don't care. Yeah. They just got a lot going on behind the scenes, and a lot of us don't pay attention. Like I said, if we don't dissect those truths on the table, what are we doing? Yeah. We're not inviting the kids to really be themselves in these spaces, and that's where we messing up.
Yeah, and be safe to use their throat chakra and
and talk at it.
Do you know that teacher's name?
Mr. Conroy.
Mr. Conroy. Yes. If he hears that, we see you, we hear you.
Mr. Conroy.
We gotta get him a book.
I still reach out to him to this day. I send out emails. Yes, I always check in because he was a little older back then, so I don't know, if homie's still here, but he really played a critical part. He was so inspired by everything that I would do and how I moved. He said, Deziana, you got a mouth on you, but don't lose that.
Yeah. Oh my God. God bless him. Yeah. For real.
He spoke that life into me. When everybody else was like, you got an attitude problem. You need to stop. Yeah. You need to this. He inspired me to use my voice because he said, it's not like you bring trouble up. You speak up when it's injustice or when someone was done wrong. You speak up for other students. He always said, you were a young advocate. And he pushed me to be a lawyer. He was like, you should be a lawyer or something. And for the first half of my life, I did pursue law just because he believed in me that much. And so, Mr. Conroy, that was a real supportive person in my life who really changed the way I viewed myself.
Wow. And I think that you're, gifting that out to others.
Yeah, that's my goal. I want people. I want to see other people the way he saw me.
I love that.
That's beyond the behavior, because my behavior was out of pocket. I ain't gonna lie, it was out of pocket. But he humanized me. He was curious and led with that curiosity, and that's what I hope people, when they read my book, lead with that curiosity as well. Because if you can understand me in those stories, you should be able to understand your kids in your classroom, the kids in your house, your nieces, your nephews, neighbors, your mama, your auntie, your daddy, everybody, right?
Exactly.
So that's the goal.
I love that. When people finish reading your book, what do you hope they walk away feeling, thinking, or doing differently?
I want people to look at themselves and realize that you are far more than your losses. You are far more than any of your mistakes. Your mistakes is never a life sentence. Sometimes we do that to ourselves. We chain ourselves and be like, I made all these mistakes and I can never be good in life. And no, you could absolutely be great in your life. If you grew up like me and you was a troubled kid, look at where I'm at now, right? A lot of it is you got to learn a lesson from it. If you don't learn your lesson, you're going to keep repeating the same mistake. You touch the stove and you find out that stove hot, don't touch it twice. Yeah. Don't touch it twice. Sometimes you don't even got to take an L by yourself. I would be that kid that would analyze every adult life experience and be like, ooh,
that's the one I'm not finna do.
That's not what I'm finna do, right? So by default, there's so many lessons to be learned, not from our own losses, but from people around you. If you can get that game and learn that for yourself and apply it for yourself, your legacy is going to come into fruition so much faster than what you think. Your impact, and my impact for myself is I had to view myself outside of that victimization. Because I would have used that a lot.
Of course.
Oh, I can't be great because my daddy left me. Yeah. I can't be great because my mama didn't tell me she loved me enough. I can't be great. And it's like, no, I'm great even despite that. Yeah. I'm great even despite that, because none of that was ever, a life sentence for me to carry throughout my life to determine who I am in the future. Right. And so, I would say my goal is for people to look at themselves as legends, as legacy builders, to have hope in yourself, to dream of a future for yourself that seems absolutely crazy. Because when I would tell people, especially in high school, that one day I'm going to write a book, I always said that. One day I'm going to write a book, and people will laugh. And they'd be like, girl, don't nobody want to read about that trauma. It clearly they do.
They do.
They do.
Twice.
And so in that sense, is dream your wildest dream and get yourself to that point where every loss you go through, you're learning something from it to apply it as a positive impact for yourself, your family, and your community.
Yeah, I love that.
That's my goal.
Well, Miss Desi, I will say your life is a beautiful woven story. I think that it is going to share a lot of light into so many people's life. I'm sure there are times where you're like, why me? But it's so beautiful and it's going to change the world. You're doing it like at this very moment. So again, I just want to give you claps.
Thank
Like you're
you.
amazing.
Thank
Your
you.
energy is great. You're doing exactly what you're saying you want to do. So yes.
I appreciate that. That's my love.
Yes, ma'am.
And appreciation for all of you hosting this space. I know there's folks in the background that y'all can't even see, so I'm going to clap for y'all too. Because without y'all, we could not get this episode out. So just a huge, major shout out for the platforms y'all create for people like me to come through and really share game to the community and get ourselves out there in a way that just bridges ourselves a lot closer than what before. So thank you for that as well.
Thank you. I'm going to have you look at that camera and tell us all what you have coming out.
Yeah, so the book, not the Becoming Her, that one already came out. But if you're interested in that book, that is located on my website, DezianaTorres.com. That's spelled DezianaTorres.com. I also have this new book, When the Chains Fall, coming out in April 21st. And on the same website, you can locate that, as well as merch dropping as it relates to 3L Collective Theory. I also got podcast episodes on my own podcast called Healing Ourselves, Heals Our Hoods. And so if you're interested in just hearing more about me, you can tap into my website or my Instagram at CONFI_DEZ and just tap in. If you got, stories that you would like to share or have inspirations of that as well, just reach out. But myself, how I honor myself is just being a vessel to the community. So anything I got in my heart to give is y'all's to receive. And so anything that I can really offer myself beside that, just definitely reach out.
Thank you. Well, I'm Alaska with the spot where the ears meet the street, and we is out.
This brother from Detroit.